Hello, I'm Adam and welcome to the garden. And in our video today, we're going to look at how wildlife ponds are beneficial for the garden and how they help us as gardeners. The advantages of having a wildlife pond in the garden are endless. Firstly, they are home to frogs and newts, and these creatures are really beneficial for any gardener because they help us control pest populations such as slugs and snails. But the pond is also an important habitat for garden birds because they come to drink from the water, wash their feathers within the water as well, but also use the pond as a reference point to guide themselves around the garden. It also attracts many different kinds of mammals, such as hedgehogs, which also help us again control pests within the garden. And there's something really important about balancing the ecosystem within your garden. A wildlife pond is an important habitat for all kinds of insects, pollinating insects and flies, but then that attracts dragonflies, which will then prey on some of those flies as well. So it just creates a variety and biodiversity within a small space within your garden. And I think if you have the space, I would definitely recommend that you do consider putting in a wildlife pond in your garden. So what do we need to consider when it comes to building our own wildlife pond? Well, firstly, we need to look at the location of that pond. Ultimately, we need to ensure that we place the pond within a sunny position, but it can benefit from partial shade as well. We do this to ensure that the sun's strength and light can reach into the depth of the pond early on in the spring to help warm up the water, reducing freezing, but also as well enhancing the growth of the aquatic plants. Another important thing to consider is the design of the pond. If we are building a wildlife pond to attract wildlife into the garden, it's important that we design that pond that helps them reach the depth of the water, but also the banks. So one top tip is to ensure that you build your pond with a gentle slope coming out of the deep end of the water to the shallow end, and create a gravel beach and some stones around the edge itself, allowing amphibians such as frogs and newts to enter and exit the pond with ease. Planting as well aquatic and marginal plants on the edges of the pond will create cover for these creatures to be able to feel safe, but also hide from wildlife such as birds during the daytime. When creating your pond, there are many different options in terms of lining it. I have used a polyethylene liner here that's UV protected, this ensuring that the sunlight doesn't perish the liner, creating leaks. But you can also use clay or a natural substance that stops the water from leaving, but you must accept that in the summer months, these ponds with clay tend to dry up quicker. Creating a wildlife pond or a wetland habitat in our gardens allows us to select new plants that we wouldn't ordinarily be able to grow in our borders. For example, here I have purple loosestrife, I have some salvias, I also have some bulrushes, some aquatic mint, frogs, but you name it, there's so many different aquatic and marginal plants you can grow with a wildlife pond. I really love the marsh marigold, for example, that flowers early on in the season when most other flowers are laying dormant after the winter. Another good tip is to take a bucket of water from a nearby pond, be that a family or a friend's pond, and place it in your wildlife pond, because in that water there are hundreds of thousands of life forms and organisms that will help create a stable environment within your wildlife pond, and with them they will bring new plants and new creatures as well. We're now in August, and August is a fantastic time to be just clearing up the pond and removing any debris that have fallen into the water. We do this to reduce the nutrient buildup within the pond itself that could create an algal bloom early in the summer or late spring. I hope this video has encouraged you to consider creating a wildlife pond at home in your garden. Tan y tro nesa, hwyl am y tro.